Welcome back, movie lovers. I'm Josh.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
And with our powers combined, we are Garner Brothers Movie Lovers. Today, we're talking Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore.
And welcome back to Joseph. It's been a while since we've had you in the video.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Always happy to have you join us.
Alright, this is the one where it's a Harry Potter movie, but Harry Potter's not in it. And there's a bad guy who wants to do things to muggles and make them their slaves or something, I don't know. And the very bashful boy wants to stop them.
Is that...
And this is the third one.
Is that Newt Scamander, the very bashful boy?
Yes.
The film is directed by David Yates, who also directed the first two in this series, as well as the last, 4 of the Harry Potter films, something like that. And it stars, again, Eddie Redmayne and Mads Mikkelsen taking over as Grindelwald and Jude Law. And all the other people who were in the other Fantastic Beasts movies. And the score is by James Nugent Howard, who also scored the first 2 Fantastic Beasts films. And
which I noticed multiple times.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does an incredible job with these movies. He has crafted a leitmotific score, which means every character and even some of the relationships between the characters have their own themes, just like Star Wars does.
Wowzers.
So whenever you hear them, like that gorgeous music at the end that plays when Tina shows up is the love theme between Newt and Tina. And anyway, there's just a lot of great themes in this franchise, and they are all back, which I was very happy to hear.
Music is awesome. Probably better than any Harry Potter music.
Overall thoughts were that the movie was entertaining, which is the purpose of a movie. I had fun watching it. I even thought that the second one was entertaining to watch, even though everybody did not like that one. I thought that there were some things that were very confusing and didn't make sense, though.
In this one?
In this one,
Okay.
And in the
second one. The whole movie is that way until the finale.
I didn't think the whole movie, the second one, was, confusing. But I did think that there were a lot of things that didn't make sense where in Harry Potter, even though it's magic, they did a good job of explaining how something was happening magically. And in these movies, sometimes something happens, like time stops, and there's like not really an explanation for it. And I don't know. So I feel like the magic isn't explained as well in this movie as it maybe could have been.
Agreed. There's stuff happening in this movie, and I don't know what's happening.
You need to
like,
set up
all the conversations
and...
between Dumbledore and Grindelwald happen in this weird, there's like all this white light happening, and I am totally unclear on whether time has stopped.
Yeah. Or are
like,
they
he
in the
does
spirit
that.
realm,
Doesn't he
happening?
do that at the end of the Harry Potter movies with Harry Potter? He go into some white world
Magical
or
train
something?
station?
That's after
talking
he
about?
dies. Harry Potter dies, and he goes to this
Right.
white magical train station.
But
after
is
death. That is the spirit world? That's the explanation for it. In this, it's like, where are they?
I'm not sure. And also, apparently, Dumbledore can open the mirror dimension and fight people in it, like Doctor Strange.
They also have a Lazarus pit in this
yeah.
movie from Batman.
Also that. But I'm just wondering if it had something to do with that, because his fight in the middle of the film is clearly happening on some alternate plane. So there's this...
That was another part where I was like,
all these
what
alternate
just happened?
planes that didn't
But I
make
thought
sense.
all of the fight sequences were really fun to watch, despite the fact that sometimes I was like, how is this happening? I noticed a lot more comedy in this one than I had noticed in previous Harry Potter movies, and I liked that. I laughed out loud several times.
Yeah, it seems like the only comedic relief they had in the previous films was the Muggle, Jacob.
And he doesn't have as much to do in the second one that's funny either. I felt like...
That's true.
I felt like he was definitely the comic relief in the first film, and in the second film I felt like he was mostly just
Second
sad.
one was much more serious, I think,
Yeah.
in overall tone.
Yeah.
But there was some great comedy moments kind of dispersed throughout the characters in this one. So.
I also loved some of the themes. There's just some really tender moments in this movie as well. And there's one conversation that they have about not throwing in the towel after you make some mistakes, but trying to be better, and some really cool themes throughout the movie that were like that. And visually, this movie was stunning.
Agreed.
Really fun to watch visually.
Yeah, it looks amazing, sounds amazing, actors are great.
Yeah.
I liked it better than the second film. If only because Jacob Kowalski's my favorite character in the franchise, and I felt like he had more fun this time than he did in the second one. So it was fun to have him back. He just makes me laugh. And, well, I mean, this one ends happier. The second one doesn't end happy. So
No,
maybe
it's just following the Star Wars
the
rule
old
of trilogies.
second film.
Except this isn't a trilogy.
I mean, even though it wasn't a perfect movie, I do want to see the additional movies.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Thought it was enjoyable. Probably better than the second one. Maybe I like the first one best still.
Wow.
When was the last time you saw it?
I saw it once a long time ago and was like, that was a pretty boring Harry Potter movie without Harry Potter. And then I forgot everything about it. It's so forgetful. Joe and I sat down to watch the second one yesterday. I didn't even remember the main love interest when she showed up. I was like, who's this dame?
I rewatched it 2 weeks ago, and I still don't remember.
And Joe
the
doesn't
plot.
remember anything.
I was like,
But I do really like the first one. I think it has a really good beginning, middle, end. Like, the payoff at the end of the first one, I think, is better than any of the others.
one problem with the Wizarding World is I'll oftentimes think of spells that would have just made things so much
Right?
easier.
Yeah,
So
it's a problem when you have the ability to do anything at any moment.
And then
I remember when,
yeah.
at the beginning of Harry Potter, it was teleporting from one place to another. That used to be an issue that you had to try to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can travel
there were only
in
specific
a
ways
tin
you
bucket,
could do it. Yeah.
a dirty old book. You could travel however you want.
And yet
It just
somehow,
happens to anyone.
It's also weird to me that sometimes they feel like they have to have a port key, and then other times they'll just vanish
Yeah.
and go somewhere else, and it's did you not need a port key for
Well,
that?
that's what I'm
No,
talking
that's
about.
the
There
thing about
used to
this
be an
movie.
issue
Yeah.
with that.
Everything is a port
Yeah.
key.
There was this interaction between Newt and Dumbledore on the street where it felt like a moment that was now the franchise is yours, Dumbledore. and it was fascinating to me because we started with Dumbledore, we ended with Dumbledore, and I feel like Dumbledore is now the main character of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is crazy. That's if in Harry Potter, the first two movies were about Harry Potter, and in the third movie, Harry Potter passed it on to Hermione. And then Hermione did the next two movies and passed it on to Ron or something. This is weird, but it's so cool. I love it. I think it's really cool. And I'm actually way more interested in Dumbledore than I am in Newt. And I think that there's some really great tension between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and I really liked the way it ended in this movie. I won't talk about the details of it, but the way that they left it, I'm really excited to see those two again together. It's something I'm really looking forward to.
That worked for you.
Uh-oh, you don't like it.
I don't know. I mean, I think Mads Mikkelsen and Jude Law are fantastic actors. And the scenes they had together I thought were fine. But they didn't when I think of arch enemies getting together, I think of Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty. I think of Magneto and Professor X. The scenes where they were together kind of crackled, I mean, those were really, really good scenes. The ones in this movie were fine.
I really liked them.
Did you?
A lot.
Okay, that's good.
And I thought
They were okay for me. They weren't on the level of some of those others I mentioned, though.
I found the dynamic interesting as well, but I don't know. I'm excited. There's a lot of backstory that we don't know about, and I think that even me thinking about the backstory adds some intricacies to their rivalry.
I think their backstory is super interesting. I think it should translate into something
of the
more
scenes.
dynamic in the scenes where they're together
I see
than
what you
it
mean.
did for me.
in regards to some confusion that was going on. Okay, so in the last movie, I thought the last movie was very confusing. And I thought it was more than just that one moment that we specifically talked about.
No,
in the
yeah, I
second
think
movie.
there was
I
multiple
think
scenes in
throughout
both
the movie,
movies.
there was times where we would look at each other and we were all like, what's happening right now? At the very beginning of the movie, there's this prison break where they break Johnny Depp out of prison, but it's revealed halfway through the prison break the person who was locked up was using Polyjuice Potion, and it actually wasn't Grindelwald. Grindelwald was actually the guy driving the coach. Breaking him out of prison. So why was he breaking this person out of prison? The whole scene doesn't make sense. And I was like, what's going on? And it was like that the whole movie. The second movie felt to me like, in the same way Star Wars now is like, look, it's the Star Wars world. There's a sandy planet. And look, it's this character you like. And they're going to have their own series, but guess what? They're going to run into this other character you like. And there's a spaceship that you like. And Star Wars, it's happening. Do you like it? It's Star Wars. And that's how this felt to me. The second movie was like, there's moments, long moments, where they're going through like a street that's like a magical street, and there's like 100 street performers. And they're all like, we're doing magical things. And you're like, yeah, well, it's a magical world. And like the way they like, there's a guy who hides in the walls, and when he does it, it's like this weird like experience. And it's like, isn't this a normal thing for you guys? And in this movie, like, it is more normal.
Well, that scene was at like a magical circus, so it would have been kind of a spectacle for maybe the magical world as well.
It wasn't just that scene though.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I agree in a lot of ways, but it actually worked on me. That whole. But
that's because
you like this. I was like,
I think that's because you're more of a true Harry Potter fan.
I know. I'm very biased in that way.
And so it works for you, and that's fine.
That was one of the reasons that I actually kind of liked the second movie more than the first. Is it felt more magical. The first one didn't feel magical to me, and I was like, this is the wizarding world. Even though there are fantastic beasts, that's true, but that's kind of that's a lot of the magic that happens in the first movie. And I liked how in the second movie there was so much magic happening. I was buying it, even though I totally agree with what you said. Like,
sure.
They were selling it to the Harry Potter fans.
I think that this movie felt more like they wanted to tell a compelling story that just happened to be within the Harry Potter series. So if, in my opinion, the second movie is so utterly confusing, you would want the next movie, if that's the main problem, you'd want to make sure things were very clear. And in this movie, there's literally a moment where they're like, the good guy's plan is to make things confusing. And I was like, uh-oh. Surprisingly, even though for the characters, it was supposed to be confusing, I think for the viewers, it was less confusing than the second movie, which is impressive, I think. But I think there's also some problems.
One good thing and one bad thing, real quick. I thought there were a lot of effective scenes. I thought the assassination scene was really good, or the assassination attempt. Mm-hmm. That scene was really good. The tension between Jacob and Queenie, I thought was really good, mm-hmm. and how that whole scene went was really good. So I think there are a lot of good scenes in the film, and I think each scene is constructed very well. I didn't love how they all added up to kind of nothing in the end, but I like a lot of the scenes as we go along. But I didn't like that Tina wasn't in the movie until the very end. The fact that she wasn't in the movie except as a picture inside of his suitcase, I thought that actress must have had a conflict of schedule or something and she couldn't be in the movie, but she is in the movie at the end.
It's also possible that she did have a conflict and they were only able to get her on for one day and she shot one day's worth of stuff and then she was gone.
Maybe. But do you have a conflict with Fantastic Beasts? Like, if you're one of the main characters in Fantastic Beasts, your other movie has a conflict when you're shooting Fantastic Beasts. You know what I mean? Like, what else is she in? I've never seen her in anything but Fantastic Beasts. No disrespect to that actress. I'm sure she's great in other things, but this is the only role I know her from. So I don't know if I buy that.
And they did that with more than just her. She was the most important character that they just didn't have in the movie. But there was also Voldemort's snake that, like,
Nagini.
Oh, yeah.
had an appearance in the second movie. They don't even talk about her in this movie.
That's true.
Yeah, that
also,
is interesting.
There's like this point, I don't know this guy's name, but there's a point where, like, in the second movie, the Ministry of Magic is like, we're looking for a new person to fill this position. Bashful boy, would you like to take this position? And Newt's like, oh, I'm so bashful, I don't think I could take this position. And then they're like, well, I guess the only other person we could have fill this position is the slimiest man in all of the land. And then this guy like walks out from the shadows and he's like, I'm going to take this position now. And everyone's like, darn it, we really didn't want... He's clearly a bad guy. We didn't want him to do it. But I guess if you're not going to do it, we'll just let him do it. And then...
I'm loving this retelling. This is great.
Then he shows up later. He's just trying to kill everyone. He's clearly a bad guy, you know. And he's not in the movie. He's not in the movie at all either. He's
That's
like...
true.
Anyway, they...
That's kind of weird.
I feel like... You know how in the second movie they were like, this is Harry Potter. They were like, it's the snake. Remember the snake from Harry Potter? It's in this movie. And this movie they were like, no, we're not doing that. We're just doing this story. So they got rid of the characters that were just there to be filler.
But here's how I mean, maybe they didn't bring her in because working like her love story with Newt in was just going to be, you know, a step too far or something. Like we had too many things going on at the same time, and so we're just going to pretend that that's not a thing this movie. But the thing is, they had a character that Tina could have been. They brought in a new witch from America, right? And she did great. She was fine. But that could have been Tina the entire movie. There's no reason why it couldn't have been
The new witch
her.
from America was...
The black lady.
She was supposed to be American.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
She talked like Tia Dalma.
Why
and
did
you
she
didn't
talk
like it, right?
so weird?
I think she was trying to affect a 1920s, like...
No one else was talking like that.
I know.
She was the only one.
I know. I thought she did fine. Her voice was a little weird, but that character could have just been Tina the entire film. There's no reason why it couldn't have been Tina. So I don't understand why she wasn't in the movie. And maybe it was scheduling conflicts, or maybe it was they just didn't want to deal with the whole love story thing, but I didn't like. I mean, she was a major character in both of the last films, and she's not even in it until the very end, and then it's like one little hi, hello, and then it's it.
Right. And
I will say that's surprising, especially with... They did over-introduce too many characters between the last two movies, honestly. And it was hard to follow and keep up with. And another thing that didn't translate all that great from the second to third movie was Newt's brother, his fiance dies at the very end of the last movie. And in this movie, he is fine. He is... You don't see any
just
remorse,
pretending that
or they
movie
don't
didn't
address
happen.
it at all. I was hoping for something a little different with Queenie in this movie, just because I found her character arc very interesting in the second movie. You see her motive for joining the other side. I was kind of expecting her going to the dark side to kind of change her as a person. I still wanted her to be good in the end, you know what I mean? And like, but I was hoping that like she was still the same Queenie at the end of this movie. And I was thinking that that whole like experience would have changed her into maybe a more like a different person than who she was before joining him.
Maybe.
And I don't know, I was hoping for more from her character arc, but I do like their
the thing
relationship.
that doesn't make the most sense to me is that in the second one, correct me if I'm wrong, her reason for deciding to join the dark side is because she thinks she'll be able to be together with Jacob.
Right.
And that's because Johnny Depp's version of Grindelwald was like,
I do not hate them. I do not. I say the Muggles are not lesser, but other, not disposable. Oh, and what a world we would make for all of humanity, for freedom, for truth, and for love.
like he clearly wants to like rule over them, but not like in this movie he's like, I will burn them to the ground.
Right.
You're like, why is she still working with this guy? He clearly changed his mind. It's like he's a completely different person.
Yeah, well, obviously, that's... Good one. Obviously, even if that's his intentions, he's not going to tell Queenie that if he wants a mind reader on his team. Right. But the thing that I don't understand about that is if she's a mind reader, shouldn't she have known his intentions to, like, hurt the Muggles?
Yes.
And, yeah, that's my thing with it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, her decision at the end of that movie doesn't make sense to me for so many reasons. The end of the second movie. Yeah, because she should have known.
Right,
And
right,
he
right,
clearly hates Muggles. And he...
Well, but I didn't think Grindelwald was going to just try to kill all the Muggles. That wasn't the plan at the end of the second movie. It was more nuanced than that. It seemed very clear to me that there was more to it than that. And in this movie, it's very clear.
It's just war with the Muggles.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
That's true.
And then for her to like walk away from the man she loves because she feels so strongly about living in a world where she can marry the man she loves.
But if she had stayed with him, he wouldn't have married her, right? So it was like, doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, right?
I guess so.
I don't know.
It made sense, I think, in the second movie until the third movie, when all of a sudden everything was different.
Yeah.
I wondered if she had inserted herself in with the bad guy on purpose as like a double agent. And the whole thing that was going on during this movie, like she was like the inside gal, even though nobody knew she was, but like she was. Because
she kind of was, though.
She kind of was, right?
She lied to him about that guy's intentions.
Right.
Yeah. The stuff we can't talk about.
Yeah. Well, let's rate this movie and then we'll talk about
then we can talk about that.
Good. Fine. Bad.
Yeah, that was a load of poop.
As a Harry Potter fan, it's good. As not a Harry Potter fan, it's fine. But with my biased opinion, I think it's good. I had a lot of fun watching it, so.
I'm going to go with fine. But like a positive fine, not a reluctant fine. I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed it enough. I thought it was fine.
I'm going to say good. And I'm not a diehard Harry Potter fan. I came out really looking forward to the future of this franchise, so I'm going to say good as well. So now we're going to talk spoils. So thanks for watching up until this point, and give us a like, and give us a follow, and go check out Joe's content at his channel. He's got a channel as well. His last video was about movies.
It sure was.
It was about LGBTQ movies.
Yep.
So head on over to your channel, which is just Joseph Garner. What's it called? It's
Just
Joseph
under
Garner.
my name.
Okay. And you'll see his beautiful face there, and then you just click on that. And, yeah. So go away now if you don't want to be spoiled. Bye.
A lot of this movie felt like side quests that didn't end up affecting anything. And there's even a moment where Dumbledore admits that. They're like, we're back to where we started. And he's like, actually, we're worse than where we started. Oh, yeah. So it almost felt like that scene in Star Wars Episode 8 where they go to Casino World and then they come back. And it's
take
like,
that back. Because
no, honestly,
nothing is that bad in this movie.
No.
The Casino World is as bad as the prequels in Star Wars.
It's not as bad as that scene was. But like the first 75% of the movie is just as impactful as that scene was to that movie. Like why did that guy get arrested? Why did they go and like that didn't forward the plot. It didn't do anything. It just caused this, side quest. Okay, now we have to go save the guy who was arrested. Or, why did these characters go and do that? Or why did these characters go and do that? In the end, the only thing that matters is that magical little deer has to get there at the end so that the election goes the right way, right? Nothing the characters do other than getting that thing to the end matters. The shell game that they do, I don't understand why they had to do that. They could have just apparated the case with the thing all the way to the top of the mountain, just boom. Why did we do the whole shell game? Like, nothing they did mattered. Nothing.
It doesn't matter.
There's one big gripe. So they go visit the German
Chancellor, King of Magic.
The guy that's in charge of magic in Germany, we think.
It
Or
does seem
maybe
to
the
be,
whole world.
Well, yeah, because it did seem to me like it was just Germany until he made the decision about Grindelwald for the entire world.
Yeah, that's when I was like,
why is this guy deciding that?
Yeah. It's hard because we have only ever seen the Ministry of Magic, and that seems to be just an England thing, right?
Yeah.
And in the first Fantastic Beasts, there's the American version of that. But this organization seemed to be kind of an umbrella organization over, or maybe it wasn't. Anyway, so they go to that guy.
Well, whatever he was. He at one point he's talking about how important it is that Grindelwald is somebody that can be voted in favor of. He's like, the people need to have their voices heard, or like blood will rain in the streets or something like that.
Yeah.
And
because Germany between World War I and World War II was very concerned about the voice of the people.
yeah.
And not having blood run through the streets.
So he makes this big deal about making sure that people have a voice. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, we're going to have this deer decide your future leader. this like little animal chooses the leader of the group. And I'm like, what? This is like so opposite of everything you've been saying this entire time. The whole deer thing I didn't love about this movie.
Well, it's a Fantastic Beasts movie, so
they
J.K.
have to
Rowling
have-
had to shoehorn a beast in there somehow. Turns out it's a fantastic beast that determines the whole fate of the wizarding world.
I will say I love just learning more about the wizarding world in this franchise. That's fun for me, and it was fun to see the political side.
I did have that same thought today. It was like a Harry Potter political thriller, sort of. It's interesting.
Yeah, obviously in the Harry Potter movies, you're mostly seeing Hogwarts, right? And then
Coming of age Harry Potter. Now
yeah,
we've got...
and then now we are introduced to the whole world, right? And it's kind of a lot
This
at
franchise
once, but
is
it's
so
interesting.
weird, though, because it wasn't what this movie was 2 movies ago. 2 movies ago it was, look at this bashful boy and his briefcase. That was the movie. That was the first movie, right?
Well, Grindelwald was in it too.
Right, at the end they were like, by the way, this scary man is a different scary man. But that was basically it. It was mostly the briefcase and the bashful boy.
And it introduced the bashful bad boy as well. That was an important part of the movie. But that's like, honestly, when I think about the plot, that's what I think of. The bashful bad boy and introducing the beasts. And that's like, that was the importance and
I
significance.
liked
of
his
the
character
first movie.
too. Ezra Miller's character was, I think, a useful and good character throughout the franchise. And I liked what they did with him in this movie as well.
He didn't have as much to do in this movie as he maybe did. Well, he was always kind of a side.
The second
Character,
movie was
but-
all about him. The
Yeah.
second movie was like,
Who is he
he's the
really?
big
And-
deal. And in this
yeah.
movie, you realize that it was because Dumbledore and Grindelwald made a pact that they couldn't hurt each other. Because when they were madly in love, they were like, well, what if we want to kill each other? Maybe we should make a pact to not do that,
not do that.
even though we're in love.
People who are in love to do grand gestures like that. That's why some people have the names of their significant others tattooed on them. And then they
guess.
realize how much of a mistake it
The
is.
implications of the blood oath that they took, though, are weird to do.
Yeah,
but
no, it is.
It's like if when you got married, you were like, I also vow to never try to murder you. I've also hired this man. He'll kill me. If I try to kill you, he will jump out of the shadows and kill me first.
Yeah.
He'll also do that to you. So just be aware. This is a prenup of sorts. Anyway, it was a weird pact to be making, but the rules behind that special necklace,
Didn't really make sense.
again with the magic with no rules. It's like,
The magic is whatever the plot needs it to
right?
be.
Yeah.
And at the end, they
and
try
that's what I
to
was saying
address
about
it,
the
and
original-
they're like, what? How could you do this? I thought it wasn't possible. And he was like, me too, but he tried to destroy, and I tried to protect. So I guess
It's destroyed.
That's how you
So,
break it.
so
we
that's
got lucky, super lucky.
yeah, that's what I was saying about the original Harry Potter movies. Is they're better at explaining the reasons behind the magic, right?
Right.
In these movies, it does feel more like the magic is there to like whatever the plot needs. And something though interesting that Caleb mentioned to me when we were leaving was he was trying to kill a Dumbledore when they were attacking, right? So it was his nephew, right?
Yes.
And since it's Dumbledore's blood, and his nephew is part of his blood, we were thinking that would have been
I thought that was going to be the explanation.
right. Yeah. I thought that there was some explanation behind that, but even if that was part of the explanation, what should have happened was the necklace should have gone and killed Grindelwald, right? If he's going against the oath and attacking someone of Dumbledore's blood.
Yep.
Why would it?
Or Dumbledore blood.
Oh yeah, I see. I guess.
Because they even make a big deal of that in the scene earlier. The same blood that's in you is in me. Like,
Right.
And so I totally thought the reason it broke was because he attacked. Well, and I thought, like you said, I thought the necklace thing was coming off of him, and it was going to go to the other.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
what
was happening too. Yeah.
But that didn't happen, and that's not the explanation they used. So I thought they were setting that up.
That's interesting. That would have been
Apparently not.
How weird when stuff like this happens, where it seems like they're intentionally setting up something, and then
they're not.
They don't realize that they had a perfect
Like
setup
the Eternals.
payoff. Yeah, like the Eternals.
Yeah.
Weird.
So here's a bit of a spoiler gripe about that. I was unclear exactly how much the Dumbledores knew about him, based on several things that were said in this movie. Like when Dumbledore's fighting him, he's like, "We didn't know about you." Sorry. It's clear though later on that they already knew that he was Aberforth's son.
Well, he says that he didn't know until recently because his brother. He was like, maybe if I was a better brother or a friend, then he would have confided in me, and we would have.
Right, so I guess that guy knew he had a son all along?
He did, but I guess he's always been an angry bartender who doesn't talk to anyone.
Because then he's like, "Did you ever think about me?" And he's like, "All the time." And I'm like, well, why was he on his own all the time?
No, I think that they did explain something about the him not knowing the whole time that he had a son. Didn't they say something about that? I swear
I thought they did, but then...
The way they
Because
act
Dumbledore
about-
clearly says, we didn't know. Like, speaking like as about the whole family.
I heard him say,
But
I didn't know when he was fighting him in the streets. He said,
thought
I
he
swear
said
I
we.
didn't know.
To me, it was totally unclear whether this guy knew about him all the
Yeah.
time and thought about him every day, or whether he didn't know about him, and that's why it's okay that they never helped him. I was unclear on that.
Oh yeah, I want to rewatch it because I feel like there was a moment when they kind of explained that, but I can't remember it very well.
So, we don't know who's writing messages on the mirrors, do we?
Yeah, we do. That was the nephew.
Credence.
Yeah.
Why
Credence.
is it then that the
Except
first
that
time
it
we
was-
see it
was
happen,
being
it happened
written
to
on
him?
his mirror.
And
I
he
don't
went
know.
up to it and was like, what the? And then he wiped it away.
Do you remember
What
what the
did it
message
say?
was?
Yeah, that would probably explain if somebody was trying to contact him, or maybe he was
'Cause
practicing the magic.
I wondered if maybe there was some kind of communication going on between him and his father, and his father had written that message to him.
Oh,
And
interesting.
he was writing messages to him, but it was
Yeah.
unclear to me.
Very unclear.
And this movie felt long to me.
It felt
Even
long
though
to
I
me
was
too.
usually pretty entertained.
I was actually really happy with the final scene of the movie. So when that final scene started though, I was like,
Can't we be done yet?
gosh. But when it was over, I was like, that was a good ending to this movie.
What is
fine.
up with that prison? That is the craziest prison in the history of
Yeah.
prisons.
That's okay. It didn't bother me though because it is crazy, but that's totally Harry Potter. That's like the most Harry Potter prison ever.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And it made for comedic gold.
Yeah,
so
it
many
was funny.
times.
I did laugh. I did laugh during that scene, but apparently the deal is there's
your
a
firefly
huge
runs out.
multi-stinger scorpion living in the middle of this thing, and as soon as your little glow bug stops glowing, it kills you. But Newt's glow bug he gets when he gets there. So
It's
he's
a German
only there
prison.
for,
This is actually how it is in Germany.
So your glow bug only lasts an hour if you're lucky.
Even the prison guards you see at the end of the scene, his glow bug goes out.
Right.
Which
So-
you'd think he would be extra careful to put
So,
multiple
yeah,
glow bugs or
indeed.
something.
My question is just how is anybody still alive in there when Newt gets there? Seems like they should all be dead by now.
I also loved the prison guard's response when he was like, "How do I find my brother?"
You said he's your brother,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. He's the one that looks like your brother. Yeah, that was really funny. But it reminds me of the unnecessarily scary and complicated banks that are in Harry
Potter
Potter.
as
It's
well.
For sure.
You're
it's
right.
there's dragons in the bank.
Yeah.
Go ahead and find your bank.
Well,
vault.
yeah, and the other prison is one where demons suck out your soul all the time.
Right.
You're in here for how many years, but it's actually, going to wreck you forever.
So, remember in the finale with all the many briefcases
Yes.
when they're pretending to do "What's Up, Doc" for the finale of the movie?
What's up, Doc?
there was several moments where I thought it was really good filmmaking where, like, someone who was seemingly no one would walk into frame and it would kind of linger there for a minute, and it was a person garbed in a green robe with, like, one of those funny hats.
I noticed that.
They walk onto the screen and you're like, who's this? But then they just cut away and you're like, oh, it's no one. And then you see more people with those robes later also intentionally put on the screen, but they're orange instead of green. And it seemed to me like there was some really good visual, like, storytelling going on there, where they were getting you to, like, recognize this thing subconsciously without, like...
They were giving you clues.
Right, so that when she steps up at the end, you were like, it meant something.
Oh, that's where the fifth briefcase was.
As far as, like, LGBTQ representation, I like how this movie handled that.
So do I.
Oftentimes when you do LGBTQ representation in movies, they're villainized or they're, like, put on a pedestal, right? And in this movie, it doesn't feel like it has an agenda. It's like there's good LGBTQ people and there's bad LGBTQ people, and there's everything in between. And it's like, I don't know. I just liked that about this movie.
Okay, well, that's it. Go see that movie if you want to. It's pretty good, even though
We just
it
spent an
doesn't
hour
seem
ripping
like we
on
thought it was. In case we don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Today, we are talking Dumbledore, the
Secrets
Harry
of
Potter
Dumbledore.
movies.
Fantastic beef.
Today, we're celebrating Fantastic Beasts. Celebrating today.
This video is off to a great start.